Hello, my name is Kyle and welcome to the Chrome Extension Development Series. In this video, we'll outline the process of creating your first Chrome extension. This series is for developers with no prior knowledge of Chrome extension development. In this video, we will cover what tools we need on our local development machine, the basic project structure for an extension and the required files, the basic Hello World code to get started, how to load your extension into Chrome, and finally, how debugging can be performed on a Chrome extension. What you need for this process is some basic knowledge about JavaScript and HTML. Some sort of development environment or editor is needed for working with the code. In this video, I'll be using Visual Studio Code. And last but not least, an installation of Google Chrome to load our extension into. Before we dive into the code, let's take a look at the general structure of an extension. In this example, I have a folder called Hello on my desktop. This folder structure serves as an easy way to move your extension around and keep all the relevant files together. In this folder, we have the most important file, which is titled manifest.json. In the manifest, we can define the name of our extension, the version number, a description, and most importantly, what permissions it has. We'll visit this again in a few minutes. After this, we create a simple HTML file titled hello_interface.html. This is the main piece of HTML that will pop up when the user clicks our extension icon. Where the real meat of the work is performed is inside the popup.js file. For security reasons, our HTML file is just HTML and contains no JavaScript. Because of this, all of the JavaScript is kept in this separate file. Finally, we have a simple PNG file for the icon that we want to show up for the user to click on in our browser. Let's go and begin development. Okay, let's have a little look at the process of trying to create a very basic Chrome extension. So on my machine, on my desktop, I have a single folder called Hello, and inside of that we have the 4 files that make up the extension. So to make sure that we can see all the files, on the top left hand side we can click File and Open Folder, and that's going to let us open up the folder and have a little look inside. And what we have is the icon file, which is just a small little smiley face. I have a file called hello_interface. That's the default user interface the user is going to see when they click on the icon. We have manifest.json, which is essentially where all the core attributes of the extension are actually defined. And we have a file called popup.js. This is an associated piece of JavaScript that's going to run whenever our little interface pops up. And a good rule to remember is don't put any JavaScript directly into that HTML file. If you do, when you're looking in Chrome, it will throw a bunch of errors and telling you that you can't have JavaScript in the HTML file. So we purposely use a script tag to connect the HTML interface across to the popup.js file, which is where the JavaScript lives. Alright, now that we have the basic code for the extension set up, the next thing we want to do is to try to load it into Chrome. So up the very top in your address bar, you can type Chrome://extensions, and that will bring up your extension manager. And what we want to do is follow the first button on the top left, Load Unpacked Extension. And what this will let us do is navigate to our desktop where we kept that hello folder, and what you will see is each of the files inside of the extension. So we'll go ahead and press select. Now what we have is the basic structure for our Chrome extension has been loaded. You'll see that there's a little enable disable option, and we also have a reload button. So whenever we make substantial changes, we might want to reload the extension. So if we want to see this extension, on the top right hand side, we'll click our little extension button, and you'll see there we have the Hello World extension that we created, and beside it there's a little pin. So let's press that and pin it on to our bar. So now to actually see the extension in action, let's press that little face, and there you go, our little pop-up is showing up. Hello, this is the main interface. Now if you remember, when we were creating this, there was also some JavaScript code, and I mentioned that when we run this, the little piece of JavaScript is executing as well. So if we want to see that console output, right click on this pop-up and you'll see a little inspect button, and if we open that up, you'll see if we click on console, there's our little hello world message. So remember that this console is separate to a web pages console. If you're viewing, let's say, google.com and you right click and go to inspect, that console is different to your extensions console. Alright, now that we had our user interface with a little button that says click me, the next thing we can do is move across to our popup.js file, where we can add in a little bit of JavaScript for handling that click. So what we have here is a little document.getElementById selector, and we're using that to select the button with the ID set to click me. We're going to throw that reference into a little variable here called btn. Now on that button we're going to add an event listener, and we're going to append on a click listener. So when a click happens on the button, this function is going to trigger. And at the moment when we press the button, it's going to print out the word clicked to the extensions console. So if we jump back to Chrome, we can see our Hello World extension, and let's just press the little refresh button to reload the extension. And now on the top right we'll see our little smiley face, and if we click on him we'll see there's our little click me button, and we'll press that, and now to see the output we'll right click on the extension and go to inspect, and in the inspector we'll jump across to the console where we will see the hello world that was triggered when the extension was loaded, and the clicked output when we pressed on this click button. So that's it for this video. In the next video we'll build up on this basic extension.